She's not blood. She doesn't get a shah-ree of the cattle or land. The words scraped out of mother-in-law Amaka's cracked lips like a rusty knife, stabbing straight into my chest. The kerosene lamps flickered in the breeze under the palm roof, casting shaky light on all the silent faces. The hymn singing had just ended, the last amen still hanging in the rafters, but my heart it was already dead. Adana, I knelt on the straw mat in the corner, still clutching that damp cloth. 10 Rs, I'd used it to wipe her body, her face, her hands, even cleaned the dirt from between her toes. But with her last breath, what she used her strength for wasn't thank you, wasn't child, you've worked hard, but she's not blood. The room was packed. Clan head Ajani sat in the center, draped in the traditional indigo cloth. Uncle's 3 sons squatted by the door, eyes glued to the goatskin parchment laid out on the floor, covered in the terms of the inheritance. Sister-in-law Ifeoma held her baby, a smug little twist playing on her lips she couldn't quite hide. And my husband, Chinedu, he sat just 2 steps away from me, head down, smoking. The cigarette tip glowed and dimmed, just like how he'd treated me all these years flickering, never really shining any light on me. 10 years ago, I was sewing clothes in a factory in Lagos. Chinedu chased me for 6 months. Said his family was back east in the village, had land, had cattle, his mother was sick, needed a good daughter-in-law. I believed him. Like a fool, I quit my job, followed him back to the village, put on the Igbo wrapper skirt, knelt before the ancestors, and swore, I will serve my mother-in-law as my own mother. Back then, Amaka could still talk. She took my hand and said, Adana, you've come. This house is saved. But me, who saved this house for 10 years today, I was Dekle read, not family. 3 cows to the first son's line, Ajani read from the will. 2 to the younger line. 2 acres of dry land to the second daughter. Half a goat to the distant nephew Ayuba, for bringing medicine. I held my breath. Was it my turn? No. Ajani rolled up the goatskin and Clea read his throat. As for the daughter-in-law, Adana, according to tradition, women ma ride-in have no inheritance rights. She should return to her birth family, or be provided for separately by her husband. My head snapped up. I looked at Chinedu. He kept his head down. Ash fell on his knee. He didn't brush it off. I'm not, ISTA root, but my voice choked off. Adana. Amaka's eyes suddenly opened, those cloudy eyes turning Tawa RDS me. You worked hard. But the property, it must go to blood. It's the ancestors' law. My whole body shook. I wanted to ask her, who ran Ba Rafut 8 kilometers to town in the pouring rain when her fever wouldn't break me out, who cleaned her, changed her cloths, aired them in the sun when she lost control, me, who stayed up all night singing by her bedside when she woke screaming in pain, still me. And all that outweighed by blood, I watched as the white-horned cow was let out, the calf I'd raised with my own hands. It knew me. It came over and gently nudged my hand. I reached out, touched its warm nose, and the TRS finally felled off this cow. I choked out, it drank water I ride, ate grass I cut. It knows me. But it doesn't know you as its owner, Ifeoma sneered. It was Amaka's cow. Not yours. No one spoke up for me, not even the church pastor, who just bowed his head and murmured, submission to authority is pleasing to God. I stood up. I didn't cry anymore. I placed the damp cloth gently by the bed and bowed deeply to Amaka. Mother, I served you for 10 years, not for a cow or land today. I just ask one thing, in your heart did you ever truly think of me as your daughter? Her eyes were closed. Her lips moved. No sound came out. I turned and walked out. Behind me, the family sta route dividing the livestock. Laughter mixed with the lowing of cattle. I stood in the yard, the wind blowing across my empty ARMS that had ride her to church, ARMS that had ride her through storms, ARMS that had brushed away scorpions and snakes for her. EARLY the next morning, Ifeoma showed up with 2 other wives to sort my things. You can't stay here, she said. This is Chinidu's house. Amaka's inheritance. You have no part in it. I didn't fight for anything, just packed a cloth bundle, one old wrapper, 3 bars of soap, my Bible, and the copper bracelet my own mother gave me. As I left, I looked back at the old house one last time. Amaka was gone now. Covered in white cloth, they were busy slaughtering chickens for the ancestors, praying for the bloodline to prosper. I walked to the edge of the village and met Mama Nduka, selling palm oil. Uherd, she sighed. Amaka left you nothing in the end. She said. I wasn't blood. Mama Nduka shook her head. We women, we're like brooms under the eaves. Needed when there's dirt, then leaned back against the wall. But who remembers the broom after it's swept the floor clean? I bit my lip. Didn't speak. I reached the town and sat under the tin shelter waiting for the long-distance bus. A woman who looked like a missionary handed me a bottle of water. Sister, you look troubled. I took the water and suddenly asked, the Bible says, honor your father and mother, that it may go well with you. But, if your parents don't claim you, does the blessing still come? She paused, then said softly, God sees the heart. His judgment it's not written on the clan head's goatskin. The bus came. I got on. As it pulled away, I looked towards the distant hills, where Amaka's cattle grazed. White-horned cow's body had probably been dragged away already. The new owners were likely busy fitting ropes on their charres. I closed my eyes. 10 years of sweat, bitterness, waiting evaporated like a dream, but I knew this pain from the dream wouldn't just blow away with the wind, would take root, would sprout. One day, it would grow into a forest nobody could ignore. And me, Adana, I wasn't just the daughter-in-law who knew how to scrub floors anymore. I was the one who'd been denied. But also the one who'd been loved, even if that love was buried in words never spoken aloud. Wheels rolled, heading towards who knows where, but I knew, someday, I'd come back, not for a cow, but so that every woman like me could stand tall and say, I am also this family's child. When I got back to my mother's hut, it was almost dark. It was a low mud house with a corrugated iron roof. When the wind blew, it made a loud clang-clang sound, like it was reminding us, even the roof won't let the poor sleep easy. My mother was stirring palm nut soup over the fire. When she saw me walk in with my cloth bundle, her hand jerked. The wooden spoon fell into the pot. Kicked you out? Her voice trembled. I nodded. Didn't cry. I'd used up all my TRS yesterday. Mom silently ladled me a bowl of soup. Then she dug a few coins out of a jar. I scraped this together. Take it. Go anywhere you want. I held her hand, rough, cracked hands from years of pounding palm oil. Mom, I'm not leaving. I'm staying right here. With you. But deep down, I knew I hadn't come back just to hide. I needed to catch my breath. I needed to figure something out. A woman serves her mother-in-law for 10 years. And what does she get? She's not blood. Is that fair? The next morning, I pulled out the tin box hidden under my bed. For 10 years, I hadn't thrown anything away. A medicine receipt, rainy season, 2015. Amaka's fever hit 40 degrees. I walked 8 kilometers in the rain to the town clinic for antibiotics. Cost me 3,800 naira. A photo, me carrying her to the village church. She's wearing a red headscarf, smiling like a child. 3 letters from Chinidu, sent from Ghana. Each one sta root, dear Adana. Thank you for taking care of my mother, and always ended, when I come back, we'll build a new house. I put these things in my bundle and went to the village church. The pastor was trimming rose bushes. Adana? He looked up. You're back? I want you to judge this fairly. I spread the medicine receipt and letters on the bench. I read for her 10 years. Never took a penny in wages. Didn't even take sick leave. But on her deathbed, one sentence kicked me out. Is that right? The pastor took off his gloves and sighed. Child, the Bible says, wives, submit to your mothers-in-law. You did your duty. God will remember you. But what about people? My voice shook. Shouldn't people remember me? Am I only worth a God will remember? He was quiet. Finally, he said, clan rules are hard to break. Amaka, she was trapped by tradition too. I gave a bitter laugh. Then who's going to push back against tradition? It's been crushing us women our whole lives. I left the church and went to the village women's group. Mama Nduka was teaching some young girls how to weave. She saw me and waved me over to sit. What happened, she said quietly. Amaka left you nothing in the end. She said I wasn't blood. Mama Nduka shook her head, her eyes holding the weariness of a lifetime. Our generation too. Men go off. To Ghana, to Lagos, to work. Women stay home, care for the old, raise the kids. When the men get old, when they die, the property gets divided. The ma right and woman time to go. And you didn't hate it? I asked. Hate? She gave a pained smile. What's the use of hate? We didn't even have a place to complain. The clan head says it's ancestral law. The church says submission is beautiful. The men say my mother decided it, what can I do? A young girl named Abby spoke up suddenly, I won't get my ride. I'd rather go to the city and be a cleaner than be someone's walking broom. Silence fell in the room. I knew it then. This wasn't just my pain, it was the fate of a generation of women, needed like a pillar disque ride like an outsider when the accounts are resettled, but I couldn't accept that fate. I still had proof. I decided to go back to Chinidu's house, not to beg for things, but to take back what belonged to me, my memories. That evening, I slipped into the old house. Chinidu was in town. Ifeoma was out back feeding the chickens. I sneaked into Amaka's room and searched the old wooden chest. Finally, behind the Bible, my fingers touched something hard, half a piece of broken pottery by Heart erased, was Amaka's old family record clay piece. Igbo elders used to scratch family members and property onto pottery RDS. Before she got paralyzed, she'd even taught me some of the symbols. I held it up to the fading light from the window. 3 cows, 2 plots of land, some names, and in the very corner, tiny symbols scratched, Adana. Keeper of the home. My whole body trembled. She did remember me. In her Heart she did claim me. Why didn't she say it at the end? I clutched the RD and ran out of the room, almost crashing into Ifeoma. You're still here, she shrieked. Thief. Get out. I didn't argue. I just ran back at my mother's place. I lit the kerosene lamp and put the pottery RD on the table, lay there like silent testimony. Proof I was part of that family. Just then, news came. The white-horned cow was dead. Ran back to the village. The cattle shed. The white-horned cow lay on the dry grass, eyes closed, body still. The vet shook his head. It hadn't eaten grass for 3 days. Wouldn't drink water. Like its Heart broke. Village elders stood nearby, murmuring. Cattle understand people. It knew Adana. But people didn't recognize her. What reason did it have to live? That cow, it was killed by the rules. I knelt down and gently stroked its head. It had nudged my hand. It had listened to my songs. It had blocked wild dogs trying to get in during a stormy night, didn't understand bloodlines. It only knew who gave it water, who gave it grass, who stayed up all night when it was sick, understood better than people, who truly kept the home. I went home. I placed the pottery RD next to the photo, and I made a decision. I was going to see clan head Ajani, was going to show him this road, show him the words Amaka herself had written, was going to ask him. The ancestral rules say the ma right and woman gets no shari. But do the rules say that he can't claim someone? The next day, I put on my best wrapper skirt, wore my mother's copper bracelet, and walked into the elders' meeting place carrying my bundle. Ajani was drinking tea. He frowned when he saw me. Adana, you were sent away. Why are you here? I set down my bundle. I took out the pottery Shah RD and placed it on the wooden table in front of him. Amaka Ca read this herself, I said, my voice steady. She called me keeper of the home. Not a servant. Not an outsider. Keeper of the home. He looked down at the Shah Road. His face changed to is this real? You recognize her markings. The cows and land are redivided. But she left the words keeper of the home for me. Ajani was silent for a long time. Finally, he looked up. Adana, what do you want? I didn't say I want a cow. I didn't say I want land. I said, I just want to ask one thing. If a woman who served faithfully for 10 years isn't family, then what is an Igbo family? He didn't answer, but I knew. That pottery Shah RD had cracked the wall called ancestral rules. The wind had sta root blowing through the cracks. I left that pottery Shah RD on the wooden table in the elders' meeting place and walked out. Ajani didn't stop me. He didn't promise anything either. But I knew that half piece of baked EARTH, that proof, was like a seed planted in the HaRD soil of tradition. Would it sprout? I didn't know. But at least, someone was sta rooting to wonder, can the ancestral rules really never change? For the next few days, I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in my mother's hut, sorting through my things. I washed out the empty medicine bottles Amaka had used and lined them up. I folded Chinidu's letters neatly by Ya'ar. I wiped the photo of the keeper of the home over and over with a cloth. I was waiting for a response. Waiting for some justice. Even just a soft word from the clan head, but what came was village gossip. Adana's gone mad, waving a broken pot Shah RD to get a cow. She wants to be a woman clan head, an outsider trying to get into the ancestral shrine dreaming. Even the young church assistant whispered to me, Adana, stop making trouble. You won't win anything. You're just making things HaRD for Chinidu. HARD for him. I gave a cold laugh. Was I even a person these 10 years? I stopped explaining. I decided to find the truth myself, not from the clan head, but from the living. First, I went to the east end of the village, to find Mama Nwa, the midwife. She was the one who delivered Chinidu for Amaka all those years ago. Now over 80, she sat sunning herself in front of her door. Mama, do you remember Amaka? I asked softly. She squinted at me. You're Adana Chinidu's wife? Yes. I read for her 10 years. She nodded, then suddenly sighed. Amaka was a woman with a HaRD fate. And a HaRD Heart. She loved her reputation. Afraid the clan would say she broke the rules. But in her Heart, did she really not claim me? Mama Nwa stopped fanning herself. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, last rainy season, when she had that high fever and was raving, she kept crying out, I've wronged Adana. She's more filial than a birth daughter, but I can't leave her anything. The ancestors will punish my family. She paused. She said, if there's another life, let her be my true daughter. I will take her hand before everyone. My nose stung. I almost fell to my knees. She remembered, she hurt too, thanked Mama and went to the town clinic. Dr. Adi was giving a child a shot. He saw me and took off his mask. Adana, I hear you're asking about Amaka. I want to know, what did she say before she died? Dr. Adi sighed. Those last 3 days, she drifted in and out. Once, she grabbed my hand and said, Doctor, on the day I divided the inheritance, my Heart felt cut by a knife. Adana shouldn't have been treated like that. I said, then change your words. She shook her head, no. Ajani is there. The clan is there. The ancestors are re-watching. If I change my words, Chinidu will be driven from the village. My whole body shook. She did love me. She was afraid of breaking the ancestral rules. Afraid her son would be exiled. Afraid her soul would find no peace after death. Torn in two between tradition and her conscience. A last stop, Ifioma, Amaka's youngest daughter, was hanging laundry in the backyard road. She saw me and scowled. "You'd come back. I want to ask you one thing," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Did your mother say anything to you alone before she died?" Her hands paused on the clothesline. Her voice dropped, suddenly softer. She said, "The person she wronged most was you. She said you weren't a daughter-in-law. You were a daughter." But she couldn't say it out loud. Afraid that if the bloodline got confused, the family would fall apart. She also said she hid a letter in the lining of her Bible. "For you." My heart almost stopped. "The letter I don't know," she shook her head. "After Chinedu came back, I saw him take an old Bible from under her pillow. After that, I never saw it again." I turned and left. Straight to Chinedu's house. He'd just come back from town, sitting in the yard fixing his motorbike. He looked up when he saw me. His eyes were complicated. "Adana. Are you all right? No pleasantries?" I asked directly. "Where is my mother's Bible?" He froze. How do you know?" "Give it to me." I held out my hand. "That's her last words. Not your cattle ledger." He was silent for a moment. Then he stood up, went inside, and brought out a worn red Bible. The cover was frayed, the corners curled. The one I'd read to Amaka for 10 years. I opened it, page by page. Until I reached Matthew, chapter 19, the part about eternal rds. I see a refully peeled open the lining. A yellowed slip of paper slid out. My hands shook as I unfolded it. "Wadana, you are my true daughter, the cattle, the land, my heart. You should have had a shari, but I was weak. I couldn't defy the ancestors. If there's another life, let you be my birth daughter. I will take your hand and say before everyone, this is my child." Amaka Tars flooded out instantly. "Not for the property. Not for the cows or land, for this late acknowledgement, for the mother locked in tradition's grip even at death's door, for the soul that wanted to love but couldn't speak." I hugged the Bible and crouched on the ground, crying like a child. Chinedu stood behind me, his voice rough. "Adana. I didn't know about this letter. That last day. I only heard her say she's not blood. I thought she truly didn't claim you." "She did." I looked up, my vision blurred. "She claimed me more than anyone. But she was more afraid the whole village would say she broke the rules." Chinedu looked down, his fists clenched. "Me too. I was afraid. Afraid to speak up and be called unfilial by the clan. Afraid you fighting for inheritance would tear the family apart more. So I stayed silent." "You weren't unfilial," I said. "You were cowardly. Just like her." He had no answer. I wiped my tears, stood up, refully folded the letter, and put it in my breast pocket. I walked to the cattle shed. The white-horned cow's body was buried, but her calf was still there, a little heifer, brown with white tips on her horns. She saw me and walked over gently, nudging my hand with her head. Just like her mother used to do. I stroked her back and whispered, "You mother and child, you have more spine than people. One died refusing food for me. The other still comes close when she sees me. But people, why don't people understand who truly keeps the home?" Chinedu stood behind me, his voice almost too low to hear. "Adana. I was wrong. My mother was wrong. The whole village's rules, maybe. Wrong too." I didn't turn around, but I knew something had root to change. At night, back at my mother's, I put the letter, the pottery shard, the medicine receipt, and the photo all back into the tin box, and I did one more thing. I took a thick plank of wood. With a knife, I read 2 lines. "Adana. Keeper of the home. Loyalty needs no blood ties. Inheritance shouldn't only see the name." EARLY. The next morning, I hoisted the plank onto my shoulder and walked to the village entrance. It was the main way into the village, where the clan gathered. I dug a hole, planted the plank firmly, packed the dirt tight around it. Some kids ran over to see. Adana sister, what's that? This is my name, I said. And my proof. At first, some laughed, crazy woman putting up a monument, some shouted angrily, an outsider to residential to put up a sign, but others stopped to look. Others murmured, she did serve 10 Rs. And young wives whispered to me, Adana sister, I want to be a keeper of the home, too. How can I not be sent away? I looked at that wooden sign. Wind and sun would fade the words, but I knew, as long as someone sees it, someone will remember. As long as someone remembers, someone will ask, why doesn't 10 Rs of loyalty EAR and 1 cow? Why does blood crush 10 Rs of true HRT? And those questions, that's where change begins. That wooden sign stood at the village entrance for 7 whole days. No one dared touch it. No one openly supported it. That change, like the wind before the rainy season, came quietly. On the 8th morning, I found a small bunch of wildflowers placed in front of the sign, purple lantana flowers, the kind village women often braid into their hair. No one admitted to leaving them. But I knew. Someone had sta root standing with me. What surprised me even more was the little heifer. She walked right out of Chinidu's cattle shed by herself, crossed the village path, and came straight to my mother's hut. She lay down, like she was waiting for me. I led her back. Chinidu stood at his gate. He didn't stop me. She knows you, he said. Last night, she kept calling out. Like she was looking for someone. I didn't answer. Just gently stroked her back. She stood up and followed me, not because I was leading her, but because she chose Cito. That cow became the first living thing in the village to break the rules. Around the same time, clan head Ajani sent for me, not to scold me. To invite me. The Council of Elders wants to see you. I put on my best wrapper skirt, wore my mother's copper bracelet, and ride my tin box to the elders' meeting place. Ajani sat at the head, looking serious. On the table before him lay the pottery Shah RD and a photo of the sign I'd put up at the village entrance. Adana, he began, you've made it Ha RD for us to sleep. I didn't smile. I haven't slept soundly for 10 Rs either. Getting up every night to turn Amaka, wipe her down, give her water. Sound sleep isn't something you get lying down. It's something you EARN standing up. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, we've looked into the ancestral rules. We've spoken to the elders. It's true, the rule that a Maridin woman has no inheritance rights, it's old. But he paused. The rules don't say we can't show respect to a keeper of the home. My HRT jumped, so, he continued, the council has decided that little heifer belongs to you. She recognizes you as her owner, she is yours to raise, to manage, to inherit, is the HRT sway, not the law sway. But the village will honor it. I didn't agree right away. 1 cow? For 10 Rs of my life? I asked. For her words you are my daughter? We can't change the past, Ajani looked down. But we can, make a new agreement for the future. I closed my eyes. 10 Rs of bitterness, anger, waiting washed over me like a wave, but when I opened them, I didn't see hate. I saw hope. All right, I said. I accept the cow, but I want more than a cow. I want every woman like me to know a loyalty shouldn't be erased by blood. From that day, I set up a stall at the small open space NEA or the village entrance. I used my savings to buy some cloth, soap, medicine. I opened a little shop. I called it, Keeper of the Home. At first, no one came, but slowly, things changed. Young wives sneaked in to buy sanitary pads and asked quietly, Adana sister, my mother-in-law is sick. What should I do? Elders came for medicine, saying, you know how to see a re for people better than the village doctor. Even the church deaconess came, we'd like you to tell your story at the women's meeting. I told it. I didn't talk about hate. I didn't urge rebellion, I just told the truth. I fed cattle. I ked soup. I kept watch through the night. I'm not here to grab property. I'm here to prove a woman's work shouldn't be wiped away with she's not blood. Chinidu sta root coming to the shop often, not to buy things. To help move stock, fix shelves at once, he said softly, my mother, if she were alive, she'd be proud of you. She already is, I said. She just couldn't say it. His eyes turned red. 6 months later, Ifioma came to the shop crying her child. Sister-in-law, my mother is sick. High fever, won't break. I don't know what to do. I put down my ledger, picked up my medicine box. Let's go. I'll come with you. She froze. You don't hate us? I hated, I said honestly. But hate doesn't cure sickness. Your mother needs Re, just like Amaka needed me once. I'm not forgiving you for you. I'm doing it because women shouldn't suffer alone. That night, I stayed by her mother's side. Gave medicine. Wiped her down. Sang. By morning, the fever broke. The old woman held my hand and said, Adana, you're closer than blood. Word spread. More and more women came to me. They didn't call me shopkeeper. They called me Adana sister. They said, we want to be keepers of the home too. Not servants. Not outsiders. People who are remembered. A year later, I held a keeper of the home night at the village entrance, lit a bonfire, set out palm wine, invited every woman who'd ever read for the old or held a family together, didn't cry. We sang, we didn't say, we were wronged. We said, we deserve to be seen. Chinidu stood outside the crowd, watching me silently. After everyone left, he walked over. He handed me a key. The old house, it's fixed up. The cattle shed has a proper roof now. If you want, come back, out as a daughter-in-law. As one of the heads of this house. I didn't answer right away, but I said, if I come back, the rules change. Property isn't divided by blood or outsider. It's divided by who read and who didn't. Can you agree to that? He looked at me for a long time. Then he nodded. I agree. From now on. Loyalty is blood. I smiled. It was the first real, deep smile I'd had in 10 years. A few months later, my little shop became the village's women's support place. We saved money. Leah rened bookkeeping. Taught girls to read. Someone asked, Adana, do you hate Amaka? I shook my head. I hated her silence. But I understand her pain. She was locked in tradition her whole life. But in the end, with a letter, she pushed me to RDS freedom. She was my mother-in-law. And my lesson, don't let the next generation live in the shadow of not blood. Now, that little heifer has had her own calf. I named it, New Agreement. Every morning, it walks to the village entrance and grazes beside that wooden sign. Sunlight glints off the words loyalty needs no blood ties, making them shine. Children run over to pet the calf and touch the sign. They ask, Grandma Dana, what do the words mean? I crouch down and say softly, it means love shouldn't have insiders or outsiders. Heart is the true home. The wind blows. The sign creaks softly, like it's nodding. I know, if Amaka's spirit is watching, she can finally say the words she never read speak in life. Adana is my daughter.